Oops, I pushed the button and I shouldn't have. We'll edit that part out for those who watch the replay. All right, we'll pause. Welcome to the Social Media Lab Live. I am Scott Ayers. You know me as the content scientist from the Social Media Lab, powered by Agora Pulse. Good to see all of you here on this week's episode of Social Media Lab Live. And I'm excited for the guest I've brought on today. We'll bring her on here in just a few minutes. Her name, and I'm going to struggle throughout the day because I'm a dumb Texan and I'm bad about names a lot of times. Monique ID Moodia, and she's shaking her head yes in the green room that I got it right. So we're going to have her on here in a minute, and here's what we're going to talk about today. I think this is really, really important for our audience here at Agora Pulse, is we're going to talk about, kind of, I've labeled this the science of a social media agency. We're going to walk through some of those pain points that social media agencies tend to have, and how Monique has addressed those, how she's gotten through those, and how she's had a successful social media agency in Florida where she is located. I do want to remind you that you should go over to agorapulselab.com to check out all the latest things that we are doing in the social media lab. I certainly would always appreciate that. Any sort of love that you give the blog, we would love that. And I want to mention too, I use Restream to do all of my live shows. And here's the funny thing. I wasn't sure I clicked the right timer in the beginning there. And so I wasn't sure I had the right ending to it. So that's why I ended it. And I should have just trusted what was on there. But if you want to check out Restream, I encourage you, and I'm making a challenge to you. If everybody's watching this, and even if you're watching the replay, go over to, you can go to restreamlive.com, or I'll even put the technical referral link, which is an ugly link, in the comments. Go over to that link during the show if you want, after the show, on the replay, whatever. I'm looking for the first 5 people who watch the show to go sign up for free to Restream. I'll see you send me a screenshot that you signed up with your email address. I'll be able to see that in my back office on Restream in about a day. I'll send you a little orange wig just for the fun of it. So restreamlive.com. I do everything I do on all of my live video shows right here inside of Restream's live studio. So I challenge you to go over there and sign up for that. And if you don't know what Restream is, Check out this short little video from them. So you can't go wrong with Restream. I mean, if you're not very tech savvy, you don't need to be to go live. That's why I use Restream, because I can look really professional except for my goofiness. Using Restream's live studio, they're adding so many cool features. Like right now, before we went live, I was able to adjust the audio individually for both of us on the show. That way, hopefully our audio is really close together when we go live. I can also download individual audio tracks. That way, if I want to repurpose this for a podcast, I can make it identically level for a podcast. I can download the video. I do all kinds of stuff right here in Restream Studios, all in the cloud. So it doesn't really put a lot of wear and tear on my MacBook, and I don't need a real powerful system to do it. Just a few graphics from my overlays, which I created in Canva, and then boom, I'm live, and I'm going to. I think right now we're live in like 11 or 12 different spots throughout Facebook pages and in YouTube. And I even see somebody's watching us on Periscope right now. It's on my Facebook profile. So you can go live in so many places with Restream. So again, restreamlive.com, sign up. You can message me personally a screenshot that you signed up with your email address so I can see it. I'm going to send you a free wig. So that's a challenge to anybody who watches this show and watches it, even if it's on the replay later. My question of the day for you today is what is your job title? That could be, you're the head bottle washer at your house because you got babies or whatever it might be. I want to know your title. Like, what is your official title? For me, I created my own job title. I made it up when I came on board 4 years ago. I call myself the content scientist for the social media lab, which doesn't mean a whole lot outside of when you see what I do and know the lab. So I'm actually working on I probably should make that something that makes more sense on LinkedIn later on. But what is your job title? I'd love to know what you do, what your work looks like. What are the things that you do for a living? Let me know in the comments. I see Ed Weinberg has said, hey, appreciate you, Ed. Always hopping over here and talking with us. Today, we're going to talk about the science of a social media agency. And I'm going to bring on my guest, if I can make sure I do this right. I struggle sometimes paying attention to things and pulling up the right stuff, but I'm going to bring her on, and I'm going to cross my fingers and my toes and my wig and everything else that I get her name right. Welcome to the show, Monique Idemudia.
You got it perfectly right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
We can end the live show right now. I got the name right, and it's a rarity for me to get a name right. It's nothing to you. It's me, and I'm like, I see anything challenging. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this so bad. So I appreciate you being on the show with me today. And here's the funny thing, Monique and I connected, I believe, through Matchmaker. .fm, which is if you haven't, this is a free plug for Matchmaker. Matchmaker's this cool site, and maybe I'll pull it up in a minute and post a link. Matchmaker's this cool site. If you have a podcast, that you can find people to be guests on your shows, or you can be guests on their shows. That's where I find a lot of my guests for the live shows. I know sometimes not everybody, Monique, they're not wanting to be on camera. But some of you are like, hey, cool, I'll be on camera with you. So I appreciate you being on there. If you don't, a little bit, I'll let Monique explain what she does. But basically, Monique, you run a social media agency, or an agency in St. Petersburg, Florida, which I'm probably jealous of the weather today. What's the temperature in St. Petersburg today?
It's in the 70s, I think. Yeah.
we were mid to upper 70s in Texas yesterday, and now today is like thunderstorms. All day. So Monique, before we hop into our conversation about social media agencies, kind of set us up, give us your, 30 to 60-second elevator pitch on who you are and what you do and why we should even listen to you when it comes to social media agencies.
Sure. So my name is Monique Idimudia. I'm the founder of Dragon Digital Marketing, which is a digital marketing agency. We're based out of St. Petersburg, Florida, and we're focused on helping small businesses to build an online presence so they can grow and scale and build an audience and get everything that they need to get started doing business online in the new normal, and set everything up from content marketing to email marketing, social media marketing, all of that, blogging, podcasting, video, website optimization, SEO. So yeah, we do a lot of different things for small businesses out there.
Very cool. And I posted a link in the comments to Monique's website. You can go check that out. She's got a lot of stuff going on the website. I love the design and layout and everything that you got going on there. So make sure you go to her website after the show. You can go check that out. Or if you have another tab, you can open if you're not on mobile. And I see Chris Strubb, my friend Chris Strubb says, science. Chris is a good friend of the show, and I love having you on here. And Gregory Vaughn, who I'm actually interviewing tomorrow on the Confession of the Social Media Manager show. Says he's an agency owner. So Chris, Gregory, Gregory, I hope you get some info out of this. And tomorrow I'm interested to see what you have to say about running a social media agency. I'm going to hop right in like Monique, just like full force. Like, I hope you're ready for it. Because like I said, at Monique, originally we had scheduled our live show, and I think we're going to talk about something completely different. And I was like, I emailed you like what? Thursday last week. And I'm like, hey, can we talk about social media agencies? And I gave her some questions. She's like, sure. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is going to be awesome. So the first thing I'm going to just boom, hop into, because I think this is a big pain point for social media agencies, is how do you, as an agency owner, or maybe as somebody who works for an agency, how do you demonstrate ROI to your clients?
Yes, that's a great question. So you have to measure the right things, measure metrics that are directly related to ROI. So don't measure the likes, the comments, the views, the subscribers, but really measure the conversions. Look into your website analytics or your CRM system and see, the traffic sources. Where did people come from? How did they sign up? On what page did you capture their information? So on and so forth. And then track it, down your funnel, and track the different conversions depending on, how your funnel is set up and what micro conversions you're counting and you're tracking. It has to be all individual, and that's how you demonstrate ROI. And then you have all of the numbers right there in front of you. You can see which channels perform best. You can, see how you can allocate your budget, and you put the right resources against the right things. And just make everything as efficient as it can be. And that's how you also do it for your clients. So for yourself, that's important. Right. But for your clients, that's even more important, because you also always want to prove to your clients that you're an investment. So they're investing money into you as a digital agency, and they're getting money back, and you're not just costing them money. You never want your clients to see you as an expense. That's very important. And then, set the right expectations from the beginning. So they're not expecting wonders to happen in month 1 or month 2, but especially if you're posting content and you're doing organic social media marketing predominantly, educate them properly and make them understand that, it takes time. So they have the right expectations, and you're just setting yourself up for success, and you get good feedback as well.
Hopefully that sound effect didn't scare you when
It didn't.
because I forget I can't actually hear them. I can see it on the bar, but yeah, I'm playing around with sound effects with my Stream Deck. Yes, I think you made a great point there. Like, you've got to establish what the right ROI is, and then start measuring it and showing it to your clients. Now, I do think, and I'm curious here, like, do you see many clients who just don't understand how they should be judging you as a social media agency?
Yeah, I think a lot of people expect results instantly. People are very impatient. Instant gratification is a thing that a lot of people are susceptible for. So you do have to do a lot of client education, right, as a digital agency, and have a lot of content that you publish out there yourself, so you can give your clients and your entire audience an opportunity to learn from you and get the right information from you, it gives you a couple of benefits. First of all, they're more educated. They can make more educated buying decisions when they come to you in the first place. And then it also is, you can also establish yourself as a trusted resource and as an expert by doing that, because there's so much fluff out there. There's so many gurus promising unrealistic things, and a lot of misconceptions, especially about social media. You know, people
Right.
always think, oh, this is something that you can have an intern do. That's like still in school and they'll work for you for free. And how hard can it be to just post a couple of times a week and just put that out there? And they don't really, realize all of the research and effort and science and copywriting and
Right.
PR and communication and wording and the graphics design and all of that, and scheduling it out, and aligning all of your campaigns and making sure everything is in sync with the goals that you have in your funnel, and also making sure the stages after that. So what happens when you post a link to a blog post of yours or a landing page of yours or whatever, people land there, what's next? So you have to like map it all out. There's a lot of different skills, social listening, a lot of analytics and reporting. You want to document and track things, right? And really build long-lasting relationships there. So there's a lot of skills and experience that go into social media marketing. I feel that it's very underestimated a lot. So that's our job as agencies to to help with that, and that's how you get happy clients as well, that just appreciate and cherish the work that you do, because they know what's behind it. They don't take it for granted. They really see the value. So you also have to do less negotiating or convincing people around your pricing and justifying that and defending that or whatever, if they really get the value and everything that everything that encompasses social media marketing. It's definitely a huge benefit for you.
Whew. I mean, I feel like we just ran on a treadmill, like a take some break here for a second. That was like really good. Like I love that. Like I think what you did there is what I hear there is you've got to control the arrangement. You've got to control the situation with your clients if you're going to be an agency, right? You can't just let them say, "Here's what we want. Here's what we want you to do," because you're like, "Oh, pump the brakes." That's not realistic, and so I've got to set up, some parameters from the beginning to ensure that we're getting the right ROI that we can actually measure and you can actually judge us on. And I think most businesses in the beginning, especially before they hire an agency, they typically have unrealistic expectations for sure. And I think that plays in really well to the next question I want to ask you, Monique. And if you're just hopping in, I'm talking to Monique. I'm going to see if I get it right. Monique ID Moodia. From I got it right twice in a row, from Dragon Digital Marketing in St. Petersburg, Florida. We're just talking about the science of social media agencies and how to run them, and walking through some pain points that even us here at Agora Pulse, we identify that these are pain points that most of you in social media agency, worlds are dealing with. And so the second thing I kind of want to know from you is how do you as an agency, how do you establish that trust with clients? How do they let you just run with things, and how do you kind of prove yourself to them?
Yes, you just mentioned a keyword. You prove yourself. So you prove yourself as trustworthy over time. You are a critical person. You want the best for them. You're not shy to criticize things, but also, of course, always offer ideas and tangible tips, tactics, whatever things that they can do better, how they can improve, what they should have. For example, for social media marketing, having a branding guide is super, super useful. If they have a brand language and agreed upon a brand voice within their company, how they want to be seen and what kind of language they want to use and how colloquial you can get with your social media post copywriting, or if they want it to be, more sophisticated or professional and things like that, and what kind of graphics you can use. And then, the colors, like starting from the basics, knowing the actual hex codes of the colors and things like that, So you know, also showcase the branding on social media, make sure everything is on brand, and you get this coherent feed that people recognize you. And yeah, you start getting that brand recognition, which takes your awareness to a whole other level, and things like that. Don't always give them what they want, but also, you know, explain things, explain the background of things, and bring what they need together with what they want, because they don't always want what they need. And yeah, make sure people have realistic expectations also about the time frame. Show some examples, show some case studies, how long it took for other people to reach what they have, so they don't, you know, expect, I don't know, 100,000 followers or likes or whatever overnight.
Yeah.
Vanity metrics is a huge thing. People fall for that a lot because, yeah, it looks good and it makes you feel good in the short term. So, yeah, a lot of education. And then over time, as a partner, they'll give you more and more freedom in what you do. Really, as an agency, you want to be seen as a partner that's collaborating with their internal in-house team or with the
Right.
business owner. Maybe it's just, you know, a one-man business. And if you show your why you've decided to go with that versus this, or yeah, why that is your process, why you chose a mix of those hashtags specifically, and you're not just, you know, posting a post with 5 hashtags that have like a huge volume, but
Mm.
the post will only stay alive and visible, so to speak, for 2 seconds, and it'll be buried underneath. But you chose to give them like a healthy mix of like
Yeah.
medium to low volume hashtags, and you just, you know, so you know their post has a longer lifetime and can be discovered for longer under that hashtag. And like simple things like that example is what really yeah, gets you that trust, and you establish that trust over time. You can't expect it from the get-go because they don't
True.
know you don't know them. Nobody trusts a stranger, and you can't expect people to do so. So yeah, you just have to be a good and strong and reliable partner to them over time, and show them the results. Right, so practice what you preach and actually get them results, and also explain what you're doing so they can learn from you. They're getting some insights, they're having some aha moments, and they really feel that they have a great partner on their side that's like an extension of their in-house team. They can trust them, you're always available,
Right.
you're your support, and yeah, you're supportive, you're always available, so your customer support may be good, and things like that. You don't take forever to reply to emails. You yeah, you just make everything clear, and it's just a smooth, pleasant relationship. That's how you do it, I would say, definitely.
Yeah, I think you know, for me, just from I'm not an agency, and I've done some side work here and there. I think it's just you've got to set some expectations first, and then from there, just showing them, hey, here's what I've been able to do to you. Here's what I did for other people, and then kind of build upon that. Now, I'm curious, though, Monique, if whenever you get a new client, do you because for one, I'm curious of multiple things, but I mean, do you set them on a retainer? Do you make them sign a minimum contract with you? You know, hey, don't. Here's my expectations for the first month, 2 months, 3 months. What sort of stuff there? And this is kind of part of the trust factor there, especially if they don't know you. Do you set a lot of that stuff up in the beginning? That way, you know you're good to go for a few months.
Yeah, so there's an onboarding process definitely,
Yeah.
where yeah, they just need to know some things up front, and we need to know some things about them up front. So we go through that, and obviously we introduce ourselves as an agency, then they introduce themselves and their business, because we really have to understand the business, and you know what their goals are, what their vision is, what they've done so far, who their clients are, how they're positioning themselves, you know, in contrast to their competition, and, you know, so many things, and then the branding and stuff like that. So there's at least one, if not two, consultations to get all of the information that we need and just get the basics right, so to speak. And then there's a contract, but there's no minimum amount of time that they have to state clients. So I don't want to handcuff anyone or lock them into a
Yeah.
contract. They can always walk away and cancel the retainer every month if they want to. Obviously, if you do your client education right, especially when it comes to long-term inbound digital marketing strategies, make it very clear that, I don't know, if you sign a client for SEO, it doesn't make sense for them to just stay 2, 3, 4 months. It's just not enough. So they also know if you want to see results and if you want your expectations to be met, you have to stick around for longer and just give us that time. And it's mostly retainers. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense depending on what a client wants. Then it's a project based. It's project based, and it's a one-time payment. So it depends, but obviously, as agency owners, we all prefer retainers, right? So
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, at least you have some guaranteed money there.
yes.
Yeah, I think it's a safe way to. Maybe it's a safer way to do it, but yeah, I think if you don't do the retainers, boy, you better perform super fast, or they're going to dump you pretty quick, unless you've got a good relationship with them, of course. But I do think down the road, though, if you continue the show, like I had on one of my shows here recently, a local agency where I live, and she's established that trust with people. People know her, they see her, they see what their brand does, and they see the results, and she gives them clear results month in, month out, and that helps them know. But I think from the beginning, it comes from establishing here's what we can do reasonably, because those, like you said, those vanity metrics are so seductive, for lack of a word. Like we go after them so hard a lot of times in social media, and you as a social agency, you can't do a whole lot about that. When in reality, it doesn't matter. Those vanity metrics don't matter. So I think you've got to educate your clients probably on the onboarding process. Here's what we do. Here's what we'll guarantee, or at least hope to get to, and kind of move from there. And I would assume too, like what, and I didn't ask you this isn't even one of the questions, but what's the typical for you in your agency? What kind of clients do you typically work with?
So we work with small businesses that really want to grow and scale, and they don't want to stay small anymore. And they really need systems and processes to be put in place for
Right.
it to work smoothly. They need to leverage marketing automation a lot and, get away from doing everything manually, and things get forgotten, and, certain leads that would have been great opportunities, they forget to follow up with them or whatever, and they just never hear from them again. Things like that. So things don't fall under the table and everything is
Right.
just streamlined. They need a strategy that, just includes all of the channels, including social media, and everything has to be taken seriously and aligned with like the overarching goals that a business has. And they just, need help with getting the bigger picture right, but also breaking it down into little things and then having tangible steps that they can execute step by step. So it doesn't just stay a dream, but it actually becomes a plan. It's measurable. They know the right metrics. There's a time component to it. There's milestones to it, and it just all makes sense. So they have something to execute step by step, things that they can put on their daily to-do lists and delegate to their team and stuff like that, because oftentimes it's just overwhelming. People
Right.
want something and they're here today. How do you get from where you are right now to where you want to be? It can be overwhelming if you have like a huge goal and you don't know where to start. And we help them to align everything when it comes to digital marketing.
Is there a particular type of business that you prefer to work with?
Yeah, so it's not segmented by industry. So we
Okay.
don't focus on a particular industry. We just make sure that the business itself is a good fit and the business owner is a good
Mhm.
fit as well. And it's just all aligned with our core values and principles. And we just feel like they're a great fit and they have the right resources, right? And they can afford it and they have that long term vision. They're really serious about it, and they're just an ideal fit when it comes to the clients.
Good deal. And I think that kind of plays into the next kind of question that I had for you here is how do you scale your agency, because typically a lot of people start as an agency. They're a one woman or a one man show. They've got one or two clients and like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm making a little money here, and then they get a little over their head. Like I'm in an office in Waco, Texas. And there's a guy who run an office next to me who does SEO and like a lot of Google My Business stuff. And then he had clients go, hey, will you do social media? And so now he's had to hire people to do social media for him, and he's starting to scale, and he knocks on my door a lot to ask me to help him out, or hey, how do I use Agora Pulse to do this? So how do you as an agency, how do you maybe know when it's time to scale, and what does that look like? What should you, like, client wise, how do you know when you need to keep hiring and get bigger and charge more, all that kind of stuff? What's your mindset there?
Yes. So it's key that so first of all, you know when to scale when you get the clients, when you get the deals and you realize, oh, we can't fulfill that anymore with like our current setup. We need to hire a new person, or I don't know, get this and that to be able to do it. And I think it's key to stay lean and to stay agile. Don't always think, in terms of hiring your own staff and adding W-2 people to your overheads, to your payroll, but really leverage virtual assistants, contractors, freelancers that you can work with. That's a lot more flexible, and you can hire and fire accordingly. And yeah, you're just very agile and lean. Leverage the remote work culture and modern workplaces, people working from home, so you don't need to necessarily even pay for an office location or a physical location at all, and leverage that. And so you can do it quickly and grow and scale like that quickly if you have SOPs, standard operating procedures, in place for every little thing that you do. And you really have to break it down in baby steps so everybody can understand it, because very often a lot of people who do not even have a marketing background or the skill set that you have will be able to do certain tasks if you can explain it to them properly, and really break it down. And for us as marketers, so many things are like no brainers. We don't even think about it. Like, we just do it, but we have to break it down and explain it for people who are not as familiar with it and it's new to them. So for example, when I publish a new podcast episode, I have an SOP that is like 80, 90 steps, which sounds crazy if you think about it. Wow, publishing a podcast episode and you've broken it down into 80, 90 steps, but you have to, explain the littlest things, every click, every field that they have to fill out and what they have to put in there, and the naming convention. So all of your files and everything that's involved with it, the MP3 file, the video file, the thumbnail, the audio tracks, whatever it may be, some images, some sound bites that you design, you find that, and all of that is structured, and then distributing it on different channels, and yeah, doing this and that, scheduling it out, what format you want everything in, and literally, yeah, every little click that they have to do is defined, so you leave no questions open for a person to execute a certain task. That is very, very important. So basically, treat your agency like a franchise. I have had, while I was still in college, I've had a lot of side jobs at like different, fast food restaurants or whatever it may be, and they're all franchises. And every little thing matters if you work there, like where a certain thing stands, and the littlest things, like the teeny tiniest things that you would think, why would that matter? It's so counterintuitive, but it's really the little things that matter so much, because they add up, and all of the little things together become more important than the big things that are there. So it's super important to pay attention to every little detail, how you want it to be, so you can teach people easily, you can get new people up to speed a lot quicker, and all of that helps you to grow and scale a lot more, so you know exactly what you have to do, and new people know exactly what they have to do a lot quicker. Make sure you have content also around, your brand and your guidelines, and what you would want that person to do and how you expect them to be and things like that. So it's all written down, yeah, black on white, so to speak. They can read it, go through it, have a little presentation or a slide deck prepared when you're onboarding new team members to your agency with the most important questions and things like that. Yeah, definitely define a clear process so it's not like random, but yeah, everybody is just on the same, yeah, everybody has the same understanding. And you also,
Right.
thinking about your culture, the more people you add, the bigger that topic gets, right? So it has a lot of benefits if you treat it like a franchise really and handle it like that, and you have some kind of rule process system in place for like the littlest things that you have to do.
Yeah, I would think, the more granular you get, even though it is a pain as an owner, I'm sure, but at least you've covered all your bases. Like I
It's
used to,
very,
you say franchises, and that really triggers some things for me. Like I used to be a general manager of some franchise pizza buffet restaurants that I won't name. Just I don't give them free advertising. But we had checklists, and we had every restaurant throughout the company did the same checklist for morning, the noon, the night, the close, and we had these expectations, and we created everything equally. We knew this. We knew how many ounces of cheese was on a pepperoni pizza, all that kind of stuff. But it seemed a little redundant, and like sometimes you're like, I want the freedom to do whatever. But then you go awry. Like I'd have a cook just like make whatever you want. I'm like, dude, what is this? This isn't what's on the list. I think for a social media agency, it's very, very similar, that franchise mind, that here's what we do for this client. Here's the onboarding. Here's our processes. Here's what we do, we don't do. And, kind of work through that. That way you as an owner, aren't going, Susie, what did you just do? Why did you do that? You didn't follow our guidelines. So I think that's super smart. I don't think on that level a lot. So I think that's super, super smart to do. Now I'm curious. I didn't ask you this either. I keep throwing these like curveballs at you. Like how many employees do you have right now?
We have no employees too. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it. So I
Okay.
have no employees of my own, but I
Okay.
work with freelancers and contractors
Gotcha.
and VAs, and I treat my business like a franchise so it can onboard
I
people
like that.
quickly, and we're staying lean and agile. And I have people that I've worked with a long time. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
really long term team members, and they're super loyal, and they know the business in and out, almost as if they were my own employees. But that's the
Right.
strategy that I've been following from the get-go. We're also completely remote, so there's no office location
That's the
where everybody
best.
works at. Everybody can work from home, and yeah, saves you a lot of overheads, and it's extremely convenient. I do make sure that people are in my time zone or not far from it. So I don't know if somebody's in Central Time. That's just an hour difference to
Right.
the
Hey, I
East
mean,
Coast
give it
with
up for
the Central
our central
Time.
time people are okay too to deal with.
Exactly. But if you work with people from other countries where
Yeah.
there's huge time difference, yeah, you just have to factor that in. Also, like the communication, if English is not their first language, there
Mm.
can be a lot of misunderstandings
Sure.
sometimes. So, yeah, so preferably you work with local people, or at least, nationwide. But yeah, you have to just, make your own experiences and learn from that. So what works for me might not necessarily work
Right.
for you. Everybody has to find their own way. But yeah, that's how we handle it. And I think it's so cool that you totally get the franchise thing, because you
Yeah.
work for a franchise as well. So yeah, everything matters. Also, the order is a lot,
Yep.
is super important. I bet there were some really strict guidelines in what order you put what ingredients
Oh yeah.
pizza and how
Right.
much you use of everything, right? And that's also super important. So you just always know at what stage a certain project is and what's next, because you know what they've already done, and people are not executing things in a random order thinking it wouldn't matter. It's super
Sure.
important for another person if they look at the project and the project management system, which I also highly recommend every agency uses. Use what works for you. You can use Trello, Asana, whatever it may be. There's so many out there. Definitely use one. And if you open a project and you look at the board at the first glance, it should be really clear where everything is right now, and where the project will be in a week from now, 2 weeks from now, whatever it may be, and what steps are still there to do and to execute. That's super important. It just helps you a lot. It saves you so much time. It's insane how much time it saves you if you run your business like that. And you can invest that time in your own business, create content for yourself, take on more clients. Time is just the most valuable resource. So I can highly recommend everybody to run their business like that.
Yeah, you're funny. You're talking about checklists and stuff like that. Like this has been over. Gosh, I'm gonna age myself really quick here. It was 1997, 98 when I first went to work for one of these pizza franchises. So like 24 years ago. I still remember the daily process though, and I worked for them twice over a span of like 10 years. But yeah, we had an opening checklist, we had a closing checklist, we had all those things, and then the cooks, the prep workers, even the dishwashers, the bussers, the busboys, they had processes that they went through and checkpoints, and that kept us on task, that helped us not to deviate. And how I apply, you can apply that in a digital world too, like you said, and you've answered one of my last questions for you in a minute was going to be tools, so we've already kind of answered those. The Trellos, the Asanas, there's a lot of different tasks, things you can do. We use a lot of Asana and Trello at Agorapol. So I think having some tools and structure, especially the great thing about Asana that comes into play, and you probably do this, is I can just duplicate a task and just do it again for another, either a blog post or for you, another client. All right, we did all this for onboarding, boom, duplicate, done. Here, go do it. And we used to use laminated sheets of paper, and we'd dry erase marker and we'd wipe them off when the day was over. And as long as everybody did their checklist, we were good to go. And it's the same thing. It's just a non-digital, era of it. And so I think those tools make your life so much easier. So we skipped over one question. We'll get back to it probably if we have time. But you mentioned Asana, you mentioned Trello. What's something else? What other tools
project
you
management,
use?
I would say Slack and Basecamp as well. For content creation, Canva is amazing. I use it like almost every day. You can really
I used it right before this show because my little overlay wasn't working the way I wanted, and we just changed our logo for Agorapol, so I had to kind of change it out. And so yeah, Canva I definitely love, and it makes an idiot like me makes me look like I know what I'm doing, for sure.
Right. Then I think Zoom is great. Descript is a great tool that I love for video and audio editing for your podcasts. It basically transcribes audio and video files into text, and then you can edit the text. And if you cancel out a sentence that you didn't like, it'll cancel out that part in the video or the soundtrack of the audio, and you don't have to look at like sound waves or listen to things over and over again and wait for that exact point to happen. So it makes it so much easier and faster to edit things. So I really like that. You can also use Zoom to just record your screen and then make a video like that and just present. So it's really handy, not just, for meetings or webinars or going live or whatever. For social media post pre-scheduling, I like to use Hootsuite a lot, so I can really recommend that. For going live, you can use Restream, what you're using. You can use StreamYard, which is really popular as well. So there's a bunch of tools that you can use for so many different things. Photoshop, I think, or like I don't want to say copies, that mean to say, but some of the substitutes of like Photoshop and the other softwares in the Adobe Creative Suite. I actually like Affinity a lot, which is basically a perfect substitute for like Photoshop and InDesign and Illustrator and all of that. They have a Creative Suite of their own, which is a lot more affordable, and it's a one-time payment, so it's not a
Oh wow.
subscription. You'll save a lot of money, and it's almost like an exact duplicate. Like the interface, you almost wouldn't notice that it's not Adobe. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
that's
definitely not an Adobe guy. I've tried to learn Adobe so many times. I get to a point and I'm like, no, I'm giving up and I'm just going to move on to stuff I can figure out. I can figure out Figma, which is a little confusing
right.
at
Yeah,
times. Figma's weird and kind of Adobe-ish. But then Canva, I'm like, I can't go wrong with Canva.
right.
Then I use a few other ones. So yeah, I think you've got to have as an agency, you've got to do a few things. You got to have tools that help your life be easier. And you've got to have tools that you can train other people to use if you bring them on, either as freelancers or employees or whatever. And things that are just, you can set up those processes. Like Canva is great because you can collaborate so easy to create graphics, and I can go in and reuse and just kind of redo things for a different client, a different person that I'm dealing with. So I think that's um, definitely the way to go. And then communication tools, those sort of invoicing tools, I'm sure is another one
Yeah,
that you would have to deal with. And there's lots of them out there, I'm sure,
yeah.
that kind of come into play. I've been playing with a few different ones here lately. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool. And one of them is a weird name, like Topatia or Tilapia. It almost sounds like tilapia, but it's not. But it's one that you can invoice brands if you're doing stuff with, and it helps you get paid quicker and easier, and they can direct deposit it and that sort of thing. So the last thing, even though I always feel like this one should have been first, maybe because this is a lab after all, like what is, and you can just choose to answer just one social site or whatever. What data is important for your clients, and what data do you report to them on a monthly basis?
Yes, everything that's related to return on investment. So the
Mhm.
conversion rates, the money they've invested versus the money that they've got out of it. At the end of the day, a lot of web analytics. So we get a lot of data for our reports from Google Analytics, than the website tools themselves, the landing page tools. If it's an e-commerce client, we will also get data from like their shopping cart slash sales pages provider, maybe Thrive Card, Sam Card, yeah, WooCommerce and WordPress, Shopify, things like that. So we get that data as well. And then the CRM also gives us a lot of data. We request access
Yeah.
to all of those from our clients. Sometimes new clients that are not as familiar with you yet will hesitate to give you the login information. A great tool that I can recommend you for that is LastPass. You can share
Yeah.
passwords without giving people the actual password. LastPass will be like the middleman and allow you to log in without you having to enter the password, because they have entered the password in LastPass before and given you access. So that's a great tool as well. And yeah, right. I think that's important. And your clients hire you because they want to make money, right? They want to grow
Right.
their business. They want to get new clients. So they hire your business to grow their business. So only really report on data that prove or demonstrate ROI in some way, shape, or form. Make the reports as short and sweet as possible, because clients do not care about anything else, or else they won't even rate your reports. They won't even look at them because they do not
Uh,
care. A lot of people are not as, tech savvy and data savvy as us as agency owners, maybe, and they may not love numbers as much. So even if you visualize it and you show graphs and stuff, it's overwhelming for a lot of people, and they just
mm,
don't have the time or whatever, or they just don't want to, take the time to look at all of that and think themselves into what all of that means. So make it as easy as possible. Yeah, one page reports is really what I recommend, and everything has to be directly related to RI. So you prove your worthiness as an agency, so they stick with you, and yeah, you keep that client as your
yeah.
client. So
I
that's
would
really
I would think I would think for what I've noticed too, and some of the cool things and I posted a link to LastPass and to Agora Pulse just now in the comments is the reports, and keep the reports simple. I remember This is something I remember from 1993. Again, I keep aging myself today. My first job was with Best Buy as an 18-year-old kid. And guy he wrote on the top of his screen a post-it note said KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I think the simpler that you can give reports over to clients, probably the better. Don't drown them with so much stuff that they're going to nitpick, for one, but they also get confused. So I think you have a couple of key metrics that you send them, on a monthly basis. And then that way you can kind of look at it and measure it and say, hey, we did this better. We did that better. We didn't do this as well. We'll work on this. And here's why. So I think that's a good point, that you've got to keep it easy. A one pager is the best that I've seen everybody do. And I would definitely recommend that. So anything else that you would say, before we hop into a real fun section was we in the interview, anything else that you would recommend or get maybe like I wish I had done this when I got started as an agency that you might recommend to people?
I did a lot of research and I connected with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, just learn from them. You can also learn from other people's mistakes. You do not have to make every mistake on your own. Just be smart, work smarter, not harder. Always look for opportunities to automate and to leverage marketing automation, right? So yeah, leverage that. If you can have software do a job and you don't have to have a person do a certain job, it's faster. They don't get sick.
Yeah.
It's right. So
they might crash, but they don't get sick. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So leverage that. Be open to new technologies that come out. Always stay on top of your game with new things that's happening, which would be Clubhouse, for example, right now.
Yeah.
The social media landscape. Yeah, always stay on top of your game. We work in a very fast changing industry, so you'll never get bored. There's
That's an
always
understatement.
to
Yeah.
learn about and to discover. So yeah, stay on track, and you'll be good. I think that's what's key. And then get started. Never, procrastinate or, be scared or afraid of change, but embrace it. And yeah, I think those would be some great tips and success recipes that I still like to share.
Very cool. Well, I think it was great information. Hopefully everybody, you go back, you rewind, you re-listen, wherever you're consuming this later on, you can kind of take notes of what Monique Idemudia, I think I got it right again.
Yes.
Like 3 times in a row, had to say for us, and we'll post a link here in a minute to back again to your website. Now, I want to move over. This has nothing to do with social media marketing. Okay, this is a section of the show that I call 5 questions, and we have a little fun with just asking you some very random questions. But you get the choice, Monique. All right, okay. I can ask you 5 questions, and this is sponsored by Poddex. You can go to poddexlab.com, and they have an app that you can actually get these questions from. They do drawings and all kinds of fun stuff. Or you can actually go and purchase decks of cards. It's kind of the coolest little deal. I can ask you questions from what they call their interview deck, which are open-ended questions that you have to kind of think on real quick on your feet and answer. And I'll make sure nothing's like inappropriate, but they are kind of random. Or I can just ask you simple would you rather questions where you pick one or the other. Which one do you prefer?
The would you rather.
Would you rather? All right. So here we go. So this is 5 questions with Monique Idemudia. See, I got it right again.
Perfect.
From Dragon Digital Marketing. Here is number 1. Oh, I'm going to skip number 1. I was like, whoa, that's a weird one. I haven't seen that one yet, so I skipped it. All right. Would you rather your voice sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
I don't know who any of those people are.
Oh no, you got to go. Gilbert Gottfried he did the Affleck duck for a long time, and Fran Drescher did the nanny show back in the old days. So let's just skip that. Let's start over. Yes. All right, question 1 now with Monique Idemudia. Would you rather get your hand stuck in a meat grinder or a blender?
Ooh, what a question. I don't know. Both are like equally bad. I'd say
Yeah,
meat
yeah.
grinder.
Meat
Yeah.
grinder. All right. All right. Question 2. We're doing would you rather questions with Monique. Would you rather blow up 100 balloons or lick 500 envelopes?
Blow 100 balloons for sure.
It always like makes your glands hurt afterwards.
Right.
Let's see. I'm gonna skip a few. All right, this is question 2. I think we're on 2, even though I've gone through like 6 cards. This is question 2. 5 questions with Monique. ID Moodia from Dragon Digital. Would you rather spend the night in a dumpster or a porta potty?
A dumpster.
Dumpster. Yeah, I would agree with you there. All right, question 3 with Monique. Would you rather be able to erase people's memory or predict the future?
Predict the future.
Predict the future. Yeah, I think that would be definitely one too. All right, here's a real easy one. Here's a layup softball one. This is number 4 now. I'm losing count now. I've thrown so many cards in front of me that I didn't want to ask you. Question 4, Monique Adimudia from Dragon Digital Marketing. Would you rather put ketchup or ranch dressing on everything that you eat?
Ketchup.
Ketchup. Why ketchup?
Oh, I like ketchup. Yeah. I definitely like it better than ranch. So
I would think so too.
I guess it goes with more foods too.
Yeah, that's true. All right, here's the last question for you. This is 5 questions with Monique ID Moodia from Dragon Digital Marketing. Would you rather see Oprah or Arnold Schwarzenegger as the next U.S. president?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'll say Arnold.
Arnold, really? That's not the choice I thought you would make. I love that because it would be funny. Like the memes would be, as a social media marketer, would be amazing.
I mean, he's already made it to a governor, right?
That's
He's
true.
made it from a bodybuilder to a governor. Then now he will be able to make it to a president too.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. So, so Monique, I appreciate you being on the show today and having a little fun with me. We'll post a link to your website, dragon-digital-marketing.com. But if someone's listening to a podcast later, like where can they find you on social media? What's your handles there?
So my Twitter handle is @DragonDigitalM1. That's the same as my Clubhouse handle. At Facebook, it's just Dragon Digital Marketing. And then we're also on YouTube, which, just type in Dragon Digital Marketing and you'll find us. And on LinkedIn, you'll find me just under my name, Monique Adimudia.
Very cool. I appreciate you being on the show with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
You bet. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Social Media Lab Live. I do want to remind you that you can go over to agorapulse.com/live and grab your free trial of AgoraPulse. It's like a 28-day-ish. I think you could probably twist some arms and get 30 to 40 days off of that trial. Wink, wink. But agorapulse.com/live will get you that. And don't forget this show next week. Here's the cool thing. Next week, I don't even know the topic yet. I booked him on the show, months ago. Troy Sandage, my man, Troy Sandage from @FindTroy, is the guest on next week's show. If you remember, I had Troy on the show back in, I don't even know, August, and we talked about the marketing powers of minorities. It was right after a lot of stuff had happened, and the Black Lives Matter movement, and the George Floyd death, and probably the most powerful interview I've ever done. The most proud I've been of probably any interviews out there, especially because it had nothing to do with marketing, and we just talked, and it was very real. And you can find that if you go to socialmedialab.live. You can actually find the interview. He'll be on the show next week. So I don't know what we're going to talk about. We may just go this on the fly and just talk about marketing and minorities in the world, because the Lord knows the world is kind of goofy and weird at times. So we'll be on that show for that next week. So, and tomorrow on Confessions of a Social Media Manager, I'm interviewing Gregory Vaughn. That's at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'd love for you to watch that. So I will see all of you guys next week here on Social Media Lab Live. See you.